Joey, did you go from the set and stop at the buffet on the way here?
Thank you.
Oh yeah, pay your respects.
No one ever talks about the good the mafia does. Let's give it up for Dean Martin.
Oh,
No, guys and bench, always willing to help out a friend, an old friend in need. Dean's there to help him. Although I don't think you should have put Jerry Lewis on 7 tonight. Guy walks into the library and he says, "Where are the books on suicide?" And the librarian says, "Over there in that aisle under S." So he goes and he comes back and he says, "There weren't any books on suicide." And the librarian says, "Well, they don't tend to return those." You see, a guy went to the library and he checked out the books on suicide and then he offed himself. So when the guy in my joke came in, there were no books for him to check out. Yeah, okay. But the blonde got it over there. Okay, so a blonde goes into the library. It could happen. Blonde goes to a library and she says, "I'll have a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke." The librarian says, "Sorry, honey, this is a library." And the blonde goes, "I'll have a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke." You see, in the library, you gotta be quiet. Thank you. So, anybody here ever go to the Isle Casino? Woo-hoo! One person. Did they go to the hotel? Anybody else go to the Isle?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good place. It's a friendly place. We were there. Very friendly people. I was actually at the bar and there was this woman there. She was wearing the tightest pants I'd ever seen. And I got really curious. So I go up to her and I say, "Excuse me, how do you get into those pants?" And she said, "Start by buying me a drink." Yeah. We were on the slot machines forever, and I turn to Frank and I say, "I've been here so long, I think my ass is asleep." And Frank goes, "That's probably why I've heard it snore a couple of times." I like it there because they still have the slot machines that you pull the handle, and I was pulling the handle and I accidentally elbowed somebody. I turned around and there was the most well-endowed woman, and I had elbowed her in the well-endowed part. I was mortified. It's really embarrassing. So I turned to her and I said, "Excuse me, I am dreadfully, dreadfully sorry. If the rest of you is as soft as your bosom, you will find it in your heart to forgive me." And she said, "If the rest of you is as hard as your elbow, I'm in room 608. Family show, okay, so we'll talk about religion. Guy goes to a priest, and he says, "Blessed be your Father, for I have sinned. It's been 6 months since my last confession. Last weekend, I made love with my wife 8 times. I'm 72 years old, I made love with my wife 8 times. And the priest says, "With your wife?" And he says, "Yes, Father." And the priest goes, "You made love 8 times with your wife?" And he says, "Yes, Father." And the priest goes, "Why is that a sin?" And the guy goes, "I suppose it's not, Father." So the priest says, "Why are you telling me this?" And he says, "I'm 72 years old, I made love with my wife 8 times, I had to tell somebody!" Stan and Esther are in the audience. They've been married nearly 40 years. Give them a round of applause.
Woo!
You know, being married 40 years isn't the same as being married 5 years. To use them as an example, they were at the bank last week, and the bank got robbed while they were in line. And the robber turns to the first person in the line and said, Did you witness me robbing this bank?" And the person said yes, and the robber shot him dead. Then he turns to Esther and goes, "Did you witness me robbing this bank?" And Esther goes, "Oh, no, sir." But he did. The guy comes home from work and says, "Honey, pack your bags, I won the lottery." And she says, "Shall I pack for the beach or pack for skiing?" And he said, "I don't care, get out." A woman's gardening, and her husband comes up behind her and says, "You know what? Your tush is as big as the barbecue grill." She says, "That's a horrible thing to say." And he said, "I'm not meaning to be rude, it's an observation." And he takes out a tape measure and he demonstrates that her tush is as big as the barbecue grill. And so she walks off in a huff. That night they're in bed, he says, "Honey, I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings today. Let's fool around." And she goes, "What?" And he said, "I apologize for hurting your feelings, and I'm thinking we should fool around." And she says, "Do you think I'm going to fire up this big barbecue butt for one little cocktail weenie?" Woman's at a dentist's office, and the dentist says, this side's going to need a root canal, this side you're going to have to pull a tooth. And she goes, oh, that's terrible, I'd rather have a baby. And the dentist says, you got to make up your mind so I can adjust the chair. A German actor comes to the United States, goes straight to a talent agent, because I'm a big star in Germany, and I want to be a big star in America. My name is Penis Von Lesbian. And the talent agent goes, I can't get you work with a name like Penis Von Lesbian, you're going to have to change it. So the guy thinks, he goes, okay, how about Dick Van Dyke? Two old guys are sitting on a park bench, and the first one turns to the second and goes, I had a birthday last week, you'll never guess how old I am. The second goes, oh, I can guess how old you are. Stand up. So the guy stands up, says, okay, turn around. So he turns around. He goes, now I need you to drop your pants. So the guy drops his pants. He goes, now take your thumb and put it up your butt. The guy takes his thumb, he puts it up his butt, and the guy on the bench goes, you're 88 years old. And he's like, oh my gosh, you got it. How on earth did you know? And he said, you told me yesterday. Thank you.
Joey Bishop. The funniest guy I've met since my divorce lawyer. Joey Bishop. Now you sit up there, mix yourself a drink. I saw somebody in the crowd when I was looking over